Dear Diary, it's days like this when I wonder if moving to Canada was the best thing for me. It's been 7 years, and when I look back at it, there's so much I wish that I knew before moving here. Now, I'm not one to live with regrets, so instead, I use experiences as life lessons. What up, everyone? CharisMaggie here, and welcome back to my channel. I know y'all, it's been a while. I'm just gonna be completely honest right now and tell y'all that I haven't really been recording for a number of reasons, but one of the main things is because I recently moved and my new space is not really the best for me to create content. And so, with it now being spring and we're getting this beautiful weather, I decided to start creating content, and I'm kicking it off with a series that I want to call Diary of an Immigrant Living in Canada. In case you're new to this channel, hey, my name is Maggie. I created this platform so that I could talk about cultural lived experiences. I do that by talking about cultural history, ethnic food, and Creole languages. So if that's your jam, please stick around, subscribe to the channel, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I've been getting so many questions from people who are asking me, different things related to my experience in Canada. And so I decided, why not share this? It's been a while now since I've been living here, so might as well share some of the experiences I've had, and hopefully it can help someone. As you can see by the title of the video, today I'm going to be talking about things I wish I knew before I came to Canada, okay? So if some of you have been following me for quite a while now, you would have known that I came here as an international student. So I've actually created content about that, how to apply for schools, specifically the one I went to. I talked about how I got my PR, all of these things. And so I wanted to kind of have a curated playlist that people could watch if they are specifically looking for the insights from an immigrant. Because trust me, there's a saying, who feels it knows it, and I believe that immigrants are the only one who are really truthful about their experiences, especially living in a place like Canada. So let's get into it. So, because I came here as an international student, one of the things I wish I knew before I moved here is that whatever you choose to study in school is going to matter for like the trajectory of your life. So, I mean, talking about the career that you do, the amount of money that you make, internship opportunities that can open doors for many possibilities, helping you get your PR faster, helping you land jobs because you're doing a program that's, more competitive or more attractive. All of these things I wish I knew. So for myself, I already mentioned this in the video that I talked about why I moved to Canada, specifically Newfoundland. And the reason I chose that school, just to give you a quick summary, is because at the time it was the most affordable for my parents' budget. And so I took a program that was going to help me eventually get into doing medicine, because I wanted to be a doctor. And by year two, I really quickly realized that is not what I wanted to do. Reality was really setting in when I realized I'm adding up all the money of how much it would cost me even to go to med school. I still wouldn't be a permanent resident or a citizen in the country at that time. And so I would be paying international students fees. So I was like, why do something that I know I'm probably going to hate for the rest of my life? And so one of the things I wish I knew, and this is mostly from ignorance as someone who is from the Caribbean and just looking at the career opportunities that were available to us in the Caribbean, I kind of wish I knew about all the different career paths that were available, because that would have informed my decision of the type of program I took. I would have taken one that gave me internship opportunities for sure. I would have taken one that brought out my creative side a bit more. I mean, I started YouTube when I was in my second year of university, and I have been going nonstop. And so right now I'm into social media marketing and just realizing that there is a job for this. There is a way for you to make a living off of your passion. And so yeah, that is one thing I really, really wish that I knew before I moved to Canada. The second thing I wish I knew before I moved to Canada, so even though I did my research about where I was moving to, because that is something very important, you need to know about the place that you're moving to. I really wish that I had more insight about how the weather conditions are like, and the effects of winter on a whole, especially as an island girl. I'm coming from the Caribbean, all I know is sun, sun and rain, and we're having 4 or 5 months of like straight winter, cold, bitter weather. It's just gloomy, how it affects your mood mentally. And so, as someone who's already away from her family and going through this and having to experience this weather condition that is now new to me, like I swear to y'all, like it doesn't matter how long I've been here in Canada, every time winter comes, I'm like shocked all over again. And so I kind of wish that I was a bit more prepared to know what that really meant. I wish I knew it was more than just, buying the appropriate winter gear. It's about even knowing how to take care of your mental health during that time. What are some activities I can do to keep me positive and not to have seasonal depression affect my mood? All these different things. I really wish I knew that before I moved here. And so yeah, like it's still something I'm learning. Every year I'm learning something new of how to cope with the seasonal changes. And y'all, all I know is like when I see sun, me is a happy girl. Me is a happy gal. When the sun reach, I'm happy. Happy, happy. Oh, happy like me. It's like right now. We outside. We outside all spring and summer. The third thing I wish I knew is how important it is to network and seek out mentorship opportunities. Now, as I mentioned, I feel like for the school I went to, like honestly, y'all just know this. When schools come and like they're recruiting, their job is solely to get you to come to their school. But I still wish that even though my schooling didn't afford me those opportunities via my program, that I knew what that could look like in an unconventional way and that I could seek out those opportunities. The other thing I wish I knew is kind of like how crazy the cost of living can be and how different it also can be based on like province and also if you're a student versus if you're in the working force now. So for example, so I already mentioned I went to school in Newfoundland, right? And because Newfoundland was it's not like Toronto where there are more opportunities for you to live off campus because there are more landlords there's more accessibility to transportation, things like that. I stayed on campus for the whole schooling. And one of the sweet things for me too is at some point I became an RA, so I wasn't even paying rent. Well, I wasn't paying rent, but like I was working. You get what I mean? So I would say like even with that, you're going from a student who you just pay one money per semester for your house and that covers it versus when you start working and now you're paying monthly rent and every month knowing like that amount of money is leaving your bank account, like it hurts a little bit, no lie. And I'm even noticing like what the difference is like by province. So I'm working, I have friends who are working, and sometimes we'll just be chatting and when we're moving and things like that, we're sharing like, oh, this is how much I paid for the apartment, blah blah. And like when I'm hearing all the things that they're getting, the space, don't get me started on the space. And I look at what I'm paying and the space I'm getting, and I'm like, wow, this is wild. This is so wild. So yeah, that was definitely an adjustment. And I don't even really know how much I could have done in that era, to be honest, because I did do my research before I moved from Newfoundland to Toronto. But I feel like in the past couple of years, the housing prices has just gone up so much that what you paid a couple years ago is not what you're paying right now. So I guess that's not something I could have like predicted because I did do my research before I came here to know how much I would typically pay for rent. The other thing that was a shock is like taxes. G's and P's, man. Canada, the taxes. And I know some people are going to say, well, you guys get like free health care and things like that, whatever. I am going to debunk a myth that some people probably don't know. Not everyone is going to be eligible for the free health care, despite the fact that even if you're working, you are paying taxes. So let me explain what I mean. So as someone who is working, and I remember going to apply for my health card. I remember them specifically asking me, are you working full time? This, that, and the third, how many hours? I had to get a letter from my employer. I found out from some of my friends who were like working part-time jobs that they were not able to get a health card. This is specifically for Ontario, by the way. I don't know for the other provinces. But unless they were working full-time, they were not eligible for getting the health card. So they were not eligible for OHIP. So that means like any visits that they would have done to the hospital or things like that would have been out of pocket. So I just want to make that clear to a lot of people who probably think like, yeah, immigrants just come over here to get free health care. It's like all of us are not going to be eligible for it. And that's just the reality. So I know that taxes are used to, develop a city, to, make living a bit better, more comfortable for the residents in the area. But if y'all have been paying attention to the grievances of a lot of Ontario residents, sometimes they even wonder where their money is going at. But I digress. That's a conversation for another day. But yeah, taxes, ridiculous. How much percent? How much percent is taxes again of your income tax? I'm gonna put it on the screen. I can't remember, but it's a whole heap, guys. It's a whole heap of tax we're paying. And to add on to the cost of living thing, like the difference in food prices as well, like depending on where you live, provinces that you live in, if it's rural or in the city, the cost of food is going to also be different significantly. And yeah, that it's just, I mean, I think one thing I would say is similar to living even in the Caribbean and looking at over here. And when I say Caribbean, I'm specifically talking about like Jamaica and Belize. I can only talk about places I've lived. It is going to be more expensive living in the city versus rural areas, just because half the time you're paying for like convenience, right? And so I think that is like a similarity across the board. But as you go from province to province, city to city, there will be a lot of differences in how much you pay just for your cost of living overall. So yeah, that's one thing I wish I knew. What's another thing? Another thing I wish I knew is how isolating it can feel sometimes living here. And it's weird saying that because I have friends who live here, right? But the difference is that because everyone's kind of hustling, we're all working crazy shifts or hours and things like that. It's not the same as I would say when I lived back home. But then again, to be fair, back then I wasn't working as a full time person, I was a student. So I guess I can't compare it. But I just feel like you can be isolated very easily here. If you're not going out, like one thing I've started doing is I have friends who they live different places, Brampton, Mississauga, all over. And that is like, you could say a bit further away from where I live. And so even for us to hang out, you have to like book appointments like a month in advance with some friends because they have to look at their schedule to see what day they're off or they don't have a shift and things like that. Like it's not just doing anything that spontaneous. So I would say that's the situation for a lot of my friends because we are immigrants, we're hustling, and there are certain things that are just not afforded to us until we are at a certain status in Canada. And when I say that, I mean you are a citizen or a PR. Yeah, it's very different. So yeah, I have just found myself taking it upon myself to just go to events on my own. If it is something that interests me, I'll go. And that's how I've been meeting a lot of new people and I connect with them. But yeah, like it's very easy to be isolated if you're not making that effort to like go out and just do things. And with summer right now, I encourage people to like find one or two things for you to go and do because when winter come and you're just stuck in the house, like it's not gonna be fun. So do yourself a favor and go out. You've earned it, okay? The next thing I wish I knew is how difficult employment opportunities can be. Now I know this sounds weird saying it because some of you are probably back home and you are seeing how there are so many jobs available over here and things like that. And I will say it's not that there is limited jobs, but it's like what kind of jobs? You get what I mean? And usually the jobs that are available in abundance are the ones that have a huge turnover rate. And there's a reason why they have a huge turnover rate. The treatment is poor. You don't get any kind of coverage, whether that's benefits. There's no kind of security. There's no kind of incentive for you to like be trading your time to even work here, unless it's like you really, really just need to get income to like make it through. So there have been a lot of instances with, we have immigrant workers who come for seasonal working opportunities and they are not treated like fairly. And I'm just gonna tell y'all from now, like the jobs that are making people like the 100K plus are usually the ones that people are like skilled workers, they are like certified. Another exception would be they are entrepreneurs and they have like worked their way up to building a certain reputation for themselves where they can charge whatever they want for their services and their experiences. So that is one interesting thing. Like, I have seen for myself how it definitely matters, bringing me to my first point, it definitely matters what you studied in school to determine the amount of money that you will make and how comfortable you will live. So yeah, that's one thing I wish I knew. How long is this video? I don't want this to be too long.